Well, gentlemen, we did it. Not only did we prove Alan Lichtman wrong from a historical standpoint, but we proved that he was wrong in 2024. Donald Trump has won the presidential election, and the Republicans have taken significant roles in the House and Senate. So some of you have definitely been with the channel for long enough to know this, and some of you might be new. If you are, welcome. We do have videos like this every week, so I hope you'll subscribe and stay tuned. But of course, those of you who have been with the channel for long enough understand what my perspective on American history is. We have these cycles across US history where one party or faction dominates politics for a prolonged period of time. Whether it was the Federalists or the Jeffersonians, the Jacksonians, the Republicans, the Progressives, the New Dealers, the Neoconservatives, the Neoliberals, and now it seems like that era has finally come to a close. Let's take a quick break. Did you know that your internet experience could be safer, more private, and limitless? With Proton VPN built by a team of scientists from CERN, that's exactly what you get. Proton VPN lets you stream, browse, and game with peace of mind. With secure servers in over 110 countries, you're free to connect from virtually anywhere, accessing your favorite content no matter where life takes you. And with Proton VPN's accelerator, you can enjoy speeds up to 400 times faster. Tired of being tracked and targeted by ads, Proton VPN's built-in Net Shield blocks ads and trackers for a cleaner, faster browsing experience. And because privacy is a core value for the company, they're based out of Switzerland with some of the world's strongest privacy protections. Plus, they're completely open source, meaning that their code is independently verified for security. Let's be honest, folks, geo-restrictions are such a pain. Why is it that we can watch this content in this country, but we can't watch that content in that country? Well, with Proton VPN, that's solved. Just switch to another country and boom, you can be watching content from a whole different place. We'd love for you to give Proton VPN a try. Follow the link below in the description to learn more. Now, let's get back to the video. About 1 year ago, I put together a video talking about what the future of American politics holds, which way is America going. And I spoke a little bit about this, and at the time, we were still looking at a race between Trump and Joe Biden. And I'm still of the persuasion that Joe Biden, if he had performed better in the debate against Donald Trump, would have been a much stronger candidate than Kamala Harris was. Biden definitely had a vision and a plan, he had the experience, but that was all hampered by the fact that he was old and clearly his mental faculties weren't what they used to be. In any case, Biden made it pretty apparent to the American people that he was not in good shape to run another 4 years as president. They had Kamala Harris take his place, and if any of you have seen my previous video from about 2 weeks ago, maybe 12 days ago or so, where I speak about why Kamala Harris is losing support, why it's crashing, you'll hear my critiques of this woman. And understand, me personally, I am a conservative, but I'm a historian as well. I have to look at these things objectively and as honestly as I possibly can. And the simple fact is, Kamala Harris was not a good candidate. She came into this election, granted she came into the election late, but she came into this with no real platform, no real substance to who she is, what her ideas were. All of that was basically constructed post-haste and it never really got finished. If you watched that last video I put together, we looked at her website where there were only 2 tabs under what her policies were. One of the tabs was specifically, the whole page was built toward appealing toward the single demographic of African American men. Lo and behold, some days later, she takes that page down. I was doing an interview with On Point Politics on his channel, and we look at her website. We open up the tab, and to my shock, you can see the surprise on my face. The tab is just gone. I'm just thinking to myself, wow, they already have so little on there, and they got rid of that. At the time I was looking at this, mind you, this is just about 2 weeks out from the election. There was nothing on foreign policy, there was nothing on immigration. It was all platitudes and an economic policy that was cobbled together from pieces of Clinton, Obama, and Biden-era policy. There was very little there that was actually original. What was original, some of the more ambitious projects on there were too ambitious. It was making promises that just couldn't be fulfilled. There was no guarantee that they would succeed. And yet the stats they put up there were like, oh yes, if you look at this over the course of 4 years, we'll definitely reach these numbers and these numbers. The numbers were absurdly optimistic. The numbers were beyond best case scenario. If this election had been between Biden and Trump, Biden had a lot of this neo-New Deal ideology that he was bringing to the table. He essentially created a left-wing equivalent to the policy that Trump was putting together, the very America First, Made in America, American self-sufficiency type of platform. Biden was doing that same thing. Of course, he amalgamated it with neoliberal and neoconservative policies of foreign interventionism. Hand in hand with what Biden was doing, and arguably you might say that this is still neo-New Deal, there's an argument to be made here because, of course, FDR did provide aid to the European powers during World War II. But more than anything, this is really a continuation of the foreign policy and state building, or attempting to maintain the American global world order that's been in existence ever since the Cold War ended, and that really got shaped by Bill Clinton and his third way policies. Biden really wasn't on the ballot in this election. You might say, the Biden-Harris administration is a package deal, and we can of course attribute certain things that happened during this administration to Kamala Harris. But what Kamala Harris brought to the table was the establishment that's been in power for this whole period of time. A vote for Kamala Harris was a vote for more of the same. A vote for Kamala Harris was a vote for neoliberalism. A vote for Kamala Harris was a vote for foreign interventionism, a vote for economic liberalization, a vote for globalization, a vote for social liberalism. Then you had Donald Trump, who during, of course, his 2016 and 2020 elections was already coming at this with a new platform, a challenging platform, a challenging ideology. The idea of a more self-focused United States, a United States that emphasizes its domestic policy over its foreign policy. You tack on all these other outsider forces as well. You have RFK Jr. with his strong emphasis on improving American health. You have Elon Musk with his focus on freedom of speech and government efficiency. You have Tulsi Gabbard, who wants us to be militarily strong but not interventionist. You bring this team together, and you don't just have a candidate with some interesting policies. You have a whole new ideology there. You have a whole new list of priorities for the country. It is a new ideology. It might be a little hard to categorize, but much like we have Jeffersonianism, we might be able to call this Trumpism. The United States, we'll see over the next 4 years, will be a lot less interventionist. It's going to be focused a lot more on domestic policy, and it's going to focus more on the well-being of the general American public. I'll clarify, this isn't personal bias saying that Trump is simply going to take better care of Americans than the Democrats would, but more so the fact that Trump's policy is specifically geared toward domestic issues rather than foreign policy issues. Trump has expressed an interest in utilizing tariffs to bring manufacturing back to the United States and emphasize purchasing American-made products over foreign-made products. There's concern that this is going to lead to rising costs for American families, and while it is likely, let's not mince words about this, American-made products will be more expensive. This is a long-term investment. In the short term, things will become more pricey, but in the long term, this is going to strengthen our ability to produce our own essential goods. Our money's going to stop flowing into foreign countries and it'll be recirculated here. Because we're buying less from foreign countries, we're going to significantly cut back on our rising debt. If we can gradually pay off more and more of our debt, our buying power is going to become more significant and the dollar is going to be a lot more valuable. Not to mention, of course, the quality of the products will just be higher. And then, of course, is the very interesting thing that Trump has been hinting at. This idea that while he might implement tariffs, and of course this is expected to raise prices, he might abolish the income tax. Now, I want to emphasize, this has not been promised, this has not been guaranteed, but Trump has hinted at this. He would talk about how, back in the day, we had tariffs and that would pay for government spending. We didn't have income tax. I think that was a very bad idea to get rid of that system. So we could see a situation, again, as a grand hypothetical, to offset the price increases. Trump might say, you know what, let's just do away with the income tax entirely. Let's not get our hopes for that too high yet, but let's just keep our eyes open. What's also fascinating to think about is what is going to happen to the Democrats as a party. As Trumpism is manifesting, it very much seems to be manifesting within the Republican Party and taking that party over. We could see a situation where Trumpism spills over into the Democratic Party and they produce their own version of it, perhaps Bidenism, where they try to do what Biden did. You could see them go even more hardcore than that. If the neo-progressive movement, the movement led by people like AOC and Bernie Sanders, ends up gaining more traction where they say, you know what, the neoliberals, they have failed us. People like Kamala Harris have failed us. We need to go hardcore against the Republicans because we're losing too much ground, they're gaining too much of an advantage, and we just need to sweep through all our policy. You could see the Democrats adopt that. I don't think it would be a winning strategy for them, however, because if they go too hard toward the radicalism of things, they risk alienating support. Possibly you could see a hybridization of neo-progressive thought and Biden-esque thought, and meeting somewhere in the middle, where you have some concessions made for the neoliberals, but of course it's the neo-progressives leading the coalition. Neoliberalism as a movement, I doubt the Democrats will fall back on this. It just seems like it's going to gradually go extinct at this point. Young Americans are not fond of neoliberalism. You ask a young left-wing American, and they'll say, oh, the Republicans and Democrats are both right-wing parties. It's like, yeah, they're both fairly pro-capitalist parties. They're pro-globalization. They're both liberal in the sense of liberal economics. It's a matter of nomenclature, but they have a point in recognizing that. It's much more likely that they'll go more hardcore on left-wing economics, or they'll just go over to the Republican side, because you have the compromise of pro-capitalist policy, but you also have investment in national well-being, national infrastructure, national services, etc. While across several states, many demographic groups helped swing the election one way or the other, on the grand national scale, the only major demographic that saw significant shifts in how it voted was the Hispanic population. The Hispanic population significantly turned out for Donald Trump, in a way they really haven't done in previous elections. Now, this is something else I had made a video about some time ago, actually just about 1 year ago. Will the United States become a Hispanic country by 2060? Now, when I put this out, some people thought, well, you're fear-mongering. How could you say something like this? I'm not trying to fear-monger. I'm stating something that is a very likely fact. Trump, of course, is going very hard on his deportation policy, but Hispanics are getting behind this. Why are Hispanics getting behind this? Because they don't like illegal immigration. The Hispanic citizens of the United States are not fond of this. But of course you have some people on the right who think, well, if Trump gets his deportation policy through, then America won't be Hispanic anymore. America won't have a large Hispanic population. The numbers, that's not what the numbers indicate. The Hispanic population in the United States is already somewhere in the realm of about 20%. The Hispanic youth population is, if memory serves, the largest youth population in the country. They are the fastest growing minority group in the country, second only to Asians, I believe, who comprise a much smaller segment of the population. If every single illegal immigrant in the United States was deported tomorrow, the Hispanic population of the United States is still significant enough that by 2060, they will very likely be a majority or plurality population across a majority of the states. This is the reality that the demographic trends reflect. And it's not going to change unless there's a significant shift in how the different populations behave. If, let's say, the white population or the black population suddenly saw a massive rise in their birth rates, then that would offset the Hispanic population's rise to majority or plurality. Now, in that video, where I talk about will America become a Hispanic country by 2060, I do think that this demographic is going to have a lot of influence in shaping what the ideologies of both parties are going to be, because of course both parties are going to try to appeal to this demographic for their votes. Reinforcing what I spoke about earlier in my prediction of which way America is going, Hispanics, by and large, are not interventionists. Whether left or right, they do not like foreign interventionism. Hispanics in general, whether left or right, are more in favor of using government power to achieve public good. You do have a stronger proclivity towards socialism from Hispanic left-wingers, while on the Hispanic right, you have a stronger influence of Catholicism. Catholicism, of course, much more communalist, much more dealing with let's all work together for our common good, as opposed to the more Protestant and individualistic tradition that's been present in the United States, both among the white population and the black population as well. Now, me and some of my friends, actually Jacob over at the US of Z channel where we do alternate history, we're talking about who's likely going to be Trump's successor. He's talking about J.D. Vance. And while I could see that being the case, J.D. Vance, he doesn't have the same strongman persona that Trump does. Republicans might no longer go for candidates like George Bush or John McCain, who are seen as more moderate but able to reach across the aisle. they're probably going to go for more bombastic figures like Donald Trump, which, again, I think brings into question if J.D. Vance can really fill the shoes that Trump leaves behind. In any case, the outcome of this election, what a rush. What an exciting time to be alive. Of course, these are just my thoughts. I'd love to hear what you think in the comments below. Do like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more. Mr. Z, out.